The biggest shift in financial history is happening right now in front of your eyes. Everybody keeps asking the same question. How high is crypto gonna go? And most people are asking that question from the wrong perspective. They look at crypto like it's just another stock. They look at XRP, HBAR, Quant, XLM, and they compare them to Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Microsoft, or Nvidia. They say, well, the market cap can't go that high. And that's where they miss the entire point. A stock represents a company. Crypto, at its highest level, represents infrastructure. Apple sells products. Tesla sells cars, Nvidia sells chips, and Microsoft sells software and cloud services. Those are businesses. But serious blockchain networks are not trying to become some business. They're trying to become the rails that money, assets, contracts, ownership, and data move across. Period. That's a complete different conversation. The real question is not how high can crypto go? The real question is how much of the world's value is actually going to eventually move on chain? Because if real estate, bonds, equities, commodities, private credit, payments, money market funds, insurance products, and ownership rights all become tokenized, then crypto is no longer some side market outside the financial system. And it actually becomes the financial system itself. And once you understand that, then you'll start to see why the whole Bitcoin conversation is way too small. Bitcoin was the spark. It woke people up. It challenged central banks. It made people question fiat money because of inflation, government control, and the way that the financial system truly abuses trust and the people. For that, Bitcoin deserves respect. But Bitcoin was built as a hedge against a broken system. It was an escape hatch. It was the digital vault. It was the asset people ran to because they no longer trusted banks, governments, or central planners. But here's the bigger question. What happens to when people no longer need to hide from the old system? Because decentralized networks already started rebuilding that system itself. Now let me go back to that. That's where Bitcoin starts to look less like an endgame and more like a first chapter. Bitcoin proved that the old system could be challenged. Utility networks are trying to replace the parts of that system that no longer work. That is the real shift. So Bitcoin says, protect yourself from the system. Utility says, let's just build a better system. Those are not the same thing. The assets like XRP, XLM, Quant, Chainlink, HBAR, and many other serious utility-driven networks enter the story. They're not just tickers on an exchange. At their best, they represent technology designed for payments, settlement, tokenization, smart contracts, data, liquidity, and of course, institutional finance. So that does not mean that every project will and is going to win. That means that the market is going to start caring more and more on what networks can actually do. What is their purpose? And that is already happening right now. The funniest part is that same institutions that mocked crypto are now building on it. For years, the public was told that crypto was dangerous. Bitcoin is a scam. Blockchain was dismissed as hype, speculation. Digital assets were framed as tools for gamblers, criminals, and speculators. The banks laughed, the media mocked, the financial elite were warned people to stay away, but now look at what they're doing. BlackRock is launching ETFs all over and tokenized funds. JP Morgan has spent years criticizing crypto publicly while building blockchain settlement and token infrastructure behind the scenes. Wall Street now wants ETFs, custody, stablecoins, and programmable payment, tokenized assets, blockchain-based settlement. So which is it? Is crypto fake? Was it just a scam? Or they were trying to wait until they had their own seat at the table? That's the part that people need to understand, and quickly. They did not flip because suddenly they care about our financial freedom. Let's get that straight. They flipped because they realized that blockchain is not going away. The same people that warned the public to stay away from it are now preparing to package it, regulate it, control access to it, and sell it back to the same public as trusted financial products. That's the playbook. Mock the disruption, scare people away, build quietly, and get positioned. Then call it innovation. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And when regular people were early, it was reckless speculation. But when Wall Street arrived, it became institutional adoption. That should tell you everything you want to know. This is why the market cap argument falls completely apart. People are still trying to value crypto like a company, while the biggest financial institutions are treating blockchain like infrastructure. You see what's happening? So they're not just trying to chase the price charts like retail is. They're preparing for a world where value moves differently, a world where assets are tokenized, a world where settlement happens faster, ownership can be verified digitally, where financial products are built on blockchain rails. And in that world, Bitcoin may still have a role, but it's not the whole story. Bitcoin is the hedge, utility is the machinery, Bitcoin is the vault, and utility is the network that moves the economy. That's why blind Bitcoin worshipping is very dangerous, because Bitcoin's not worthless. I'm not saying that, because the next wave of value may not come from an asset that warned us about a broken system, right? Like Bitcoin did. It's going to come from a network that helped rebuild a broken system. Look at gold. They didn't build the internet. A vault does not build a highway. And Bitcoin alone does not build the next financial system. The next era belongs to infrastructure. I can't say it enough. That's why tokenization matters so much. That's why real world assets moves on chain. An asset itself does not magically change. A building is still a building. A bond is still a bond. But the way people access it, trade it, verify it, divide it, and move it changes completely forever. That is the revolution. Value that used to be trapped becomes liquidity. Ownership that used to be buried in paperwork now becomes programmable. Markets that used to be restricted become more accessible. And then systems that used to require layers of middlemen and intermediaries become faster and now more transparent. That's why this is much bigger than Bitcoin. This is not just escaping the old system. It's about watching the old system get rebuilt from the inside. And that's why the institutions are now moving. They see what's coming and they don't want to miss it. They want to own the doorway into it. That's why people need to pay attention before the story becomes way too obvious. By the time the average person realizes what happens, the largest institutions in the world will already be positioned between them and your opportunity. They will have the ETFs, they will have custody platforms, tokenized products, compliance layers, all owned by the trusted brands that you know. And then they will sell the future back to the public like if they created it themselves. But they didn't create this movement. They restricted it, they resisted it, they mocked it, they actually slowed it down. Then they realized they couldn't stop it. So now they're trying to control it. But that's the story. Bitcoin started this revolution. But utility builds a new world. And when the new world understands that crypto is not just a collection of coins, but the infrastructure for moving value, the conversation changes forever. People will stop asking finally about how high will crypto go? And they'll start asking how much of the global economy is moving on chain. That's the question that truly matters, because if the answer is even a fraction of what institutions are preparing for, then we're not looking at a trend. We're looking at the biggest financial shift in human history, period. And the winners will not be the people who only understood the hedge. The winners will be the people who understood the infrastructure before the rest of the world caught up. Peace out, ex-Finance Bull.